always thought that the whole point of EverNever TV was to go up in budget and scale.
It's an inverted.
A slow descent. Hey, I'm Soman.
And I'm June.
And welcome to our temporary new studio in Manhattan, New York. I have lived in St. Louis for the past 3 weeks, and now I'm here on a 1-week work marathon. I'll be here every month for us to film our EverNever TVs, and then June will be coming out to St. Louis to visit the goat farm.
Yay! So excited.
In St. Louis, I have all the space in the world, and basically I'm living the life of a Midwestern prince.
I would love if that becomes your new sobriquet. The
There's
Farmer
this
Prince.
new show coming, Farmer Wants a Wife, and I'm like, this show is all about me.
So today, ahead of Fall, the School for Good and Evil, we are going to actually do a little look back on Rise with some secrets from the making of the book that someone is going to share with you guys. And we will be announcing a new contest for how you guys can get a signed galley copy of the Fall of the School for Good and Evil. But first, let's jump into those Rise secrets.
One of the things that's cool about Rise of the School for Good and Evil is I knew I was gonna eventually do some kind of Schoolmaster prequel, but it was only really once I started hanging out with Kit Young, who of course plays Rafal in the School for Good and Evil movie and is an incredible actor on Shadow and Bone. You know, he kept being like, you gotta do this story where I get to play both brothers, and the idea of him A, doing the audiobook, and B, potentially being in an adaptation, playing both Rhea and Rafal, just kept sort of lodging in my head. And that's where the entire backstory and everything I always knew about the brothers and how they came to be and the whole story started to rise into actually more of a narrative form.
Was that pun intentional?
It was not, but I guess my subconscious is enjoying being ludicrous. The second thing you might not know is that I originally was going to do a new series about Neverland. That was going to be my next big 10-year project. And as I was working on it, I started to realize that A, I had a fantastic story and fantastic ideas for it, and I could spend another decade playing around in Peter Pan's world, but I started to feel like I was done with fairy tales. After Beast and Beauty and after School for Good and Evil, I wanted to move on to something completely different. But I still had so many good ideas for Neverland and so much I wanted to do in that world. And I started to realize that I could fold that into the Schoolmaster story. And so ultimately, in both Rise and Fall, you get a lot of what I was going to do in Neverland, the series, as part of the two books. The third thing is Princess Kima is named after the Greek restaurant where we hosted the launch party for, was it book 4?
For book 5!
I can't even remember we had a book 5 party. What happened at this party?
We had a fortune teller! It was the grandest, most labor-intensive of our launch parties.
Who was a fortune teller? Another fun secret about Rise of the School for Good and Evil is one of the characters that I was obsessed with and I didn't know if I was going to get away with was Vulcan, because I wanted this kind of Eastern European, swaggery, tattooed teacher who all the students are in love with. And I wanted this teacher who everyone's a little hot for. And I remember my editor being like, we're not doing this. And I'm like, we have to. This is the whole basis of the novel. And so I felt like, okay, how do I make this work? How do I make it so that the reader is going to feel it without it being creepy, you know? And I started to hear his accent. Vulcan's accent was such a big part of who he was, you know? And the accent comes from Meryl Streep.
He teach me German, French, Russian, Hungarian, the Slavic languages.
I'm like, that's what Vulcan sounds like. The fifth secret is that whole scene at the Aquil nightclub involving the gruff goats and the snake venom drinks also came from another book that I had been working on. It was set in sort of this futuristic world of teenagers, and they would go to these clubs and have these crazy mocktails that were slightly sense altering, and so I took the snake venom from there and it sort of fit in perfectly. So often what happens in these books is, you know, you start working on a project and you realize that you're not going to follow it all the way through, but you have some great ideas in there and they end up coming into other pieces of work. 90% of the time when I work on something, I end up finishing it. There's only 2 times that I abandoned a project. One was Neverland because I knew I was done with fairy tales and I knew I could incorporate it into Rise. And the other was that futuristic project, which maybe one day will come back. Speaking of Neverland, all the stuff that would have been in my series, you'll have to read Fall of the School for Good and Evil because you've only seen a little peek into Neverland politics and Rise, and there's a whole lot more coming.
And you can read Fall, not quite right now, but very soon ahead of everyone else if you enter the following contest to win an advanced galley copy of The Fall of the School for Good and Evil. So today's contest is the Fall of the School for Good and Evil Theories contest, where we are asking you guys to predict the ending of the Rise Fall duology in 50 words or less.
in the comments below of this video. The best 3 theories will be featured on Soman's Instagram, with US addresses receiving signed galley copies of Fall. We're also going to announce the winner of our last contest, where we asked you guys to share your favorite SGE trailer and song in the comments of the trailer music supercut video. So the winner of this contest is In Darkness Comes a Dean, with an in-depth essay on SGE trailer music, complete with a parallel analysis of musical motifs in The Last Ever After versus Fall of SGE. Please send us an email at evernevertvchannel@gmail.com with a valid US mailing address, and we will send you your Fall galley.
So I'm super excited about the Rise Fall duology. I think Rise gave you sort of a peek at all the drama to come, and Fall I think is one of the best books that I've written in terms of just the drama and the twists and everything. I can't wait for you all to read it.
Next video, we will be talking more about Fall, the School for Good and Evil, and reasons that you will definitely not want to miss it. So stay tuned.
See you guys soon.
Like,